With the final departure from British shores still fresh in their minds, Caesar's legions returned to Gaul, carrying with them a mix of triumph and exhaustion. Though the Romans had not fully conquered Britain, they had achieved their primary objectives: securing strategic alliances, establishing Roman influence, and demonstrating Roman might to the tribes across the Channel. Yet, Caesar knew that leaving Britain meant relying on a delicate balance of power to maintain control over his new allies. The alliance agreements were fragile, built upon a tenuous peace, and Caesar suspected that only his presence had kept the Britons from further rebellion. The reality was that Caesar had no intention of stationing a permanent garrison in Britain. Such an effort would have required more resources than Rome was willing to expend, especially given the harsh terrain, unpredictable weather, and fierce resistance from the local tribes. Instead, Caesar devised a plan to maintain a network of influence in Britain through client kings and tribute payments. The agreement he had forged with Cassivellaunus, requiring annual tribute and hostages, served as the cornerstone of his strategy. As long as Roman interests were served, Caesar was content to keep Britain as an unofficial client state, allowing the tribes to govern themselves under the watchful eye of Rome. Caesar's withdrawal, however, left the British tribes in a state of unease. The peace, though necessary for their survival, was not universally embraced. Many tribes who had submitted to Caesar's terms felt conflicted, viewing the tribute payments as an affront to their independence. While some leaders valued the stability that peace brought, others saw it as a reminder of their defeat and a limitation on their autonomy. Cassivellaunus, in particular, found himself navigating a complex political landscape. As the leader of the tribes who had fought fiercely against Rome, he faced pressure from both his own people and rival tribes, each faction vying for power in the post-Roman landscape. In the months following Caesar's departure, British tribes met in secret councils to discuss their future. Some leaders advocated for a cautious approach, arguing that Rome's power was too great to challenge directly. They believed that adhering to the tribute payments would ensure peace, allowing the tribes to rebuild and strengthen. Others, however, were less willing to accept subjugation. They viewed the tribute as a temporary compromise, one that would be discarded as soon as Rome's attention shifted away from Britain. Among the younger warriors, there was a growing sentiment that the Britons should unite once more, preparing for a time when they could assert their independence and resist any future Roman influence. Cassivellaunus, aware of these tensions, sought to maintain a careful balance. He had seen firsthand the might of the Roman legions and understood the cost of open conflict with Rome. Yet he also knew that the Britons' desire for independence would not fade easily. In an effort to appease both factions, he began working to strengthen alliances between the tribes, hoping to create a united front that could negotiate with Rome from a position of strength. He organized meetings with neighboring chieftains, encouraging them to set aside their rivalries and focus on the common goal of preserving British autonomy. In Gaul, Caesar continued his campaigns, but his mind often drifted back to Britain. Reports from traders and allies indicated that the tribute payments were being made, but the stability of the region remained uncertain. Caesar understood that maintaining control over Britain required more than mere payments. It required a delicate balance of diplomacy and occasional displays of force. He dispatched envoys to Britain, reminding the chieftains of their obligations and hinting at the consequences of rebellion. These envoys brought gifts, tokens of Rome's goodwill, but also subtle reminders of the legions waiting just across the Channel. The Britons, for their part, continued to walk a fine line. Though they honoured the tribute payments, they remained wary of Rome's intentions. Cassivellaunus used the time to fortify his position, training his warriors and strengthening his alliances. He prepared his people for the possibility of another Roman incursion, ensuring that they would be ready to defend their lands if the need arose. The Britons, though weary of war, took pride in their independence and were determined to protect it. They watched the Channel with a mixture of caution and defiance, ready to resist if Rome ever attempted to impose its will upon them again. For Caesar, the British campaign had been a valuable lesson in the complexities of empire building. Britain, with its rugged landscape and fiercely independent tribes, had proven to be a challenging frontier. Unlike Gaul, where he had established a network of allies and client states, Britain required a different approach. He realized that direct control was impractical. Instead, he would rely on influence, maintaining Britain's allegiance through diplomacy rather than military occupation. The tribute payment served as a reminder of Rome's power, a symbol of its reach beyond the Channel, but Caesar knew that his hold over Britain was tenuous at best. As the months turned into years, the memory of Caesar's invasion lingered in both Rome and Britain. The Britons, though nominally loyal to Rome, continued to view themselves as independent. They honoured the agreements made with Caesar, but their loyalty was fragile, held together by the understanding that defiance would bring destruction. The younger generations, who had grown up hearing stories of the Roman invasion, began to question the wisdom of the tribute payments, wondering if the time had come to assert their independence. In Rome, Caesar's achievements in Britain were celebrated as a triumph. The Senate recognized his campaign as a testament to Rome's power, a symbol of its ability to extend influence even to the most distant corners of the known world. Yet not all were content with Caesar's growing popularity. Some senators viewed his success with suspicion, fearing that his ambition would eventually threaten the Republic itself. They saw in Caesar a leader who sought not only military glory, but also personal power, a man who might one day challenge the authority of the Senate. The Britons, for their part, continued to cultivate their identity as a proud, independent people. Though they had been forced to submit to Rome, they maintained a sense of autonomy, refusing to view themselves as mere subjects of the empire. The chieftains, while cautious of provoking Rome, took pride in their resistance and worked to preserve their cultural traditions. They held festivals and ceremonies to honor their ancestors, recounting tales of the warriors who had fought against Caesar. These stories, passed down from generation to generation, became part of the Britons' collective memory, a testament to their resilience and determination. As Caesar's influence in Rome grew, so did his ambitions. He continued to expand his campaigns in Gaul, pushing the boundaries of the empire and consolidating his power. The lessons he had learned in Britain served him well, teaching him the value of diplomacy and the importance of balancing force with restraint. Britain, though no longer a direct concern, remained a symbol of his legacy, a reminder of his ability to achieve the extraordinary. Caesar knew that his name would forever be associated with the island across the Channel, a place that had challenged his leadership and tested his resolve. For the Britons, the legacy of Caesar's invasion was complex. They remembered him not only as a conqueror, but also as a figure who had forced them to confront their identity and unity as a people. The experience had strengthened their resolve, instilling in them a sense of pride in their ability to resist Rome. Though they paid tribute, they remained fiercely independent, their loyalty to Rome bound by pragmatism rather than submission. The Britons had tasted the power of the Roman legions, but they had also proven that they could withstand it. Caesar's departure from Britain did not mark the end of Roman interest in the island. In the years that followed, other Roman leaders would look to Britain as a land of opportunity, a place where they could earn glory and expand the empire. The idea of a Roman Britain remained a tantalizing prospect, and the tribute payment served as a reminder of Rome's influence. However, the Britons remained wary, watching the Channel for any sign of Roman ambition, ready to defend their land and their independence if necessary. For Caesar, Britain was both a victory and a lesson. He had achieved his goal of extending Rome's influence, but he had also learned the limitations of military power. The island remained beyond Rome's full grasp, a place that could be influenced but never fully controlled. Caesar's campaign had shown him the importance of adaptability, of knowing when to use force and when to rely on diplomacy. Britain, with its fierce tribes and challenging terrain, had tested his leadership in ways he had never anticipated. The legacy of Caesar's campaign in Britain would endure for centuries, shaping the relationship between Rome and the island across the Channel. For the Britons it became a symbol of their resilience, a reminder that they had faced Rome and retained their identity. For Rome, it was a testament to the empire's reach, a demonstration of its ability to project power to the farthest edges of the known world. Caesar's name would forever be associated with Britain, his legacy woven into the history of both Rome and the Britons, a lasting reminder of the complexities of empire and the resilience of a proud, independent people.